big head and a dinosaur. Now, but we'll make it happen with a dinosaur, or we'll talk about different challenges, specifically the challenges that we face as an interracial couple. Being a biracial young man, how has that impacted you?
I have this conversation often, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
Being biracial is definitely an interesting thing, because you're to this for one group, and then you're
Right.
to that for the other group, and
Right.
you find yourself in this weird middle ground, right?
Mhm.
To where it's like,
Yes,
yeah,
Ace.
yeah.
Yes.
You find yourself in this really weird middle ground to where it's kind of like, it's hard to find your spot. Like,
Yeah.
Relatively unknown. Let's go. I told y'all boys before that we coming, ready to give it to anybody that want it. We bringing y'all the truth and keeping it 100. You may not know it now, but soon we gon' run it. We gon' run it. It's my promise. Y'all better get ready, cause we coming. Content gon' be so fire. Gon' like, share, and subscribe. Yeah.
What's going on, good people, and welcome to another edition of Relatively Unknown. My name is Philip Edge, and today I'm joined not by my amazing, awesome, lovely wife, Carrie, but I'm joined by my son today, man. How about that? To have a podcast with your son on the actual podcast, that is definitely a good thing. So today I got my son, Mr. Trey Edge, on the podcast. What's going on, son? How you doing today?
I'm sure you're missing mom, but I guess I'll fill in.
I mean, filling in is a good thing. Filling
fill
in
in,
is a good thing when you can come in and do your part and fill in for your mom. Yeah. As many of you know, Carrie is actually working, getting that master's degree in clinical something.
I don't know. There's so many degrees that I'm kind of like.
Yeah.
At a certain point, I just got lost. But she's doing.
She's doing something right
She's
now.
doing her
So
thing. Yeah.
she's actually working today. But listen, when you can get your son to fill in, that makes for a great day. So son,
What's up?
a lot of people don't know you. A lot of people, this may be even the first time that they're kind of seeing you
yeah.
on the podcast or whatnot. So if you could just introduce, tell them who you are, how you get down, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Who are you, son?
Well, this is my lovely father here. I'm Philip Edge Jr., otherwise known as Trey. What do I? Yeah. No, that's yeah.
That's all you want to tell the people, huh?
I mean, what else is there to introduce? I'm a lovely individual who loves to have conversation with his old man. So let's get it cracking.
That's all good. That's all good. And we've been talking here at Relatively Unknown as this podcast is really about relatively unknown people with an awesome and amazing story. And what better way to get on and jump and chop it up with your son, as my grandson is hollering and screaming. You all may hear him right now,
Shout out Ace.
but yeah, shout out to Ace. That's part of the Relatively Unknown studio stuff that you get screaming from grandchildren, which is awesome. So let me ask you this, son. Just as we kick it off, one of the things that we're known for talking about is like the underdog.
Yeah.
We always speak towards that underdog. We want to make sure that we give the underdog not just a platform, but we also want to make sure that we can encourage the underdog. We can lift up the underdog. Tell us about you, your life, and just what do you know about being an underdog?
I feel like for the majority of life, I was put in spaces to where I was the underdog.
Yeah.
And I think being in those spaces helped me understand what that really means. So, I think being an underdog is just something that it builds so much character and fighting through adversity and really understanding who you are.
Yeah.
Especially in those situations like growing up. I mean, being a African American male in a majority Caucasian school and just learning how to traverse that and kind of understanding your space and how you have to move in order to become and put yourself at a higher level. So I think yeah.
I think that's a big thing. You talked about attending a school in which you were There weren't many people of color there.
Right.
Ace is coming into the living room. Y'all see him. He's probably coming over, trying to find Pop right now, which is all good. Say hello to everybody, Ace.
What's up, man?
Say hey. He's like, hello. I'm gonna join the podcast today as well. But I want to talk a little bit about that. What is it like? Being one of very few African Americans at a predominantly Caucasian school. What was that experience like for you? I know you kind of jumped into that your what, sixth grade?
Sixth grade, yeah.
Sixth grade, yeah. So what was that like for you jumping in that? Did you recognize it? Did you see it? Did like, when did you begin recognizing that it was there?
Well, I think at first you're so young that you don't really see it.
Right.
You've kind of been around these kids for a while, and you just kind of feel included.
Mm-hmm,
like that's like your young point of view.
Mm-hmm.
But I think as I grew and got older and kind of started to like see certain like nuances and really go back and take a look,
yeah,
you kind of see like the separation that's there.
Mm-hmm.
And whether that's intended or not, it's there, unfortunately. And it's just something that you kind of have to learn and grow with and understand, where you're at and how to traverse that
Mm-hmm.
climate. So
when thinking back, and I'm just asking because here on Relatively Unknown, we kind of go there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you think about it, can you recall a time or an instance where that difference showed up for you, like specifically?
I would just say that there was always a priority put on others to where I didn't necessarily meet the standards to be that priority, even though I felt that those standards had been met.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's like, like on the football field, like in athletics, like being looked over, but being a better athlete, or
Mm-hmm.
In the classroom, just having to prove yourself extra just because, you're not necessarily looked at as the brightest or, the best athlete for whatever reason. And,
Mm-hmm.
just putting yourself in a better position to overcome that, I think was really important.
What made it difficult or challenging for you to overcome, especially at such a young age when you're trying to make it make sense? I'm sorry, y'all. Ace is really talking to us right now, but it's all good. So what made it challenging for you?
Challenging is just kind of at this point in life, like you don't really, as a teenager and a young adult, you don't really know who you are.
Right.
So trying to figure out how to yourself,
right,
as well as the climate is a really tough situation to be in.
Right.
Because it's just you can't make up from down in a scenario like that, and you just kind of have to go off gut,
right,
and just kind of trust instinct and go off what you were taught,
right,
in your upbringing, what you and mom instilled in me, and we kind of just kind of rock like that, I guess. So
right. It's interesting. Your mom and I, a lot of times on the podcast, we'll talk about different challenges, specifically the challenges that we face as an interracial couple. Being a biracial young man, how has that impacted you?
I have this conversation often, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
Being biracial is definitely an interesting thing, because you're like you're to this for one group, and then you're
right,
to that for the other group, and
right,
you find yourself in this weird middle ground, right?
Mm-hmm.
To where it's like
Yes,
yeah,
Ace.
yeah.
Yes.
You find yourself in this really weird middle ground to where it's kind of like it's hard to find your spot, like
Yeah.
where you really belong. But I feel like that also kind of weeds out some of, like, it shows you who your friends are, and it really lets you kind of hone in on like who those good people are. So you like find your niche group, and it's nice. It was weird, when we moved here originally from Kentucky, Cedartown, Georgia, the backwoods, people staring at us, and it just seemed so out of the norm to them that it made like I'm not sure how everybody else felt like, but it kind of was ostracizing at times. But just focus on family and on yourself,
and you keep it moving.
Yeah, for sure.
Focus on Ace and his dinosaur. That's what we do. We say, hey, rah, 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 and do that kind of stuff. So for you, when did you really begin recognizing like the big difference? You said you never really felt like or that you were too much of one or not enough of the other. What like when did that all start for you? When did you begin recognizing that?
Here's a funny story. When I was in like 7th grade, the Justin Bieber swoop was a big thing, like the hairstyle,
Yeah.
And I was so confused then on like who I was personally. I found myself trying to fit in and trying to do my hair like that.
Right.
And now that I look back on it, it sounds so goofy.
Right.
But I think, to be honest, to go back to the initial question, I think I started realizing like the difference probably midway through high school. I started to separate myself and really try and find myself as an individual and not, put myself into these boxes that have been created for me or that I was used to. So I think midway through high school and then going into college, like I really tried to branch out and become my own person and find really like who I was. So, yeah, that's a lot of soul searching at that time, I guess.
Yeah. It's interesting. I know for our family, your mom and I, we kid around a lot as we talk about our family, because we got a little bit of everything. We got you, we got Kai, we got Jessa, who got the red hair now. We got Saray, who got the blonde hair. We got Zoe, who has like the middle of the road.
Yeah, hazel eyes.
Yeah, the hazel eyes. We got the blue eyes. We got the brown eyes. So we joke a lot of times. We say, hey, we literally have like this rainbow push coalition, here within the Edge household, because we have a little bit of everything. Did you ever notice that? Like,
well, I mean. Yeah, and I think other people. It's not necessarily that I noticed it. I think it was like other people saying things and then making me like kind of be like, oh yeah. I mean, I guess that's weird, but I remember like you going to pick up Saray and that whole ordeal. I think, but as far as family went, like I never really realized that everybody was just who they were. It was family, so it wasn't. It wasn't anything odd.
One of the things your mom and I, we always talk about. We talk about difference a lot, but we were having a conversation the other day about how my parents, her parents, your grandparents, they never really mentioned the fact that we were in an interracial relationship. They never really. I mean, it never really was a topic of conversation,
Right.
Even as you grow up now and have grown up now, and you're a young man now, how do you see it?
That one hits close to home. That one hits close to home. I mean, it's weird. A lot of the times we have this like I have this notion in my head that it's okay. That like interracial relationships are just like the norm, and that's just not the case in a lot of places.
Yeah, very true.
In my personal experience, I mean, there's definitely been issues with that,
Right.
which are hard to handle. But I think it's really about the other person in the scenario, and
Yeah.
like, knowing the relationship's worth and your worth. I really just try not to let other people like get in,
Define you and get it.
Right.
So let me ask you, and this is an interesting question. I'm certain there are thousands and millions of people who are trying to ask this question and trying to figure it out. But for you, right? As a biracial young man, like when you show up, like how do you do dating? Like do you like, especially when if you're dating someone who happens to be African American, do they look at you as African American? When you're dating someone who's Caucasian, do they look at you as as like how does that work? And when you're out there and you're you're dating or what have you, like what do you do?
Right. I feel like a lot of the times the other person isn't necessarily, like if you're again, I think it stems back to what we were saying earlier. It's like you're too much this for one and too much that for the other. I feel like you really, again, it just comes down to the person. And then obviously I think parents, especially parents of an older generation, can kind of have a muddied view on it. And again, it's kind of like, you have to step on eggshells. If you're dating a certain person, you might want to ask some questions first to see before you get involved, just so you can kind of, dot your T's, dot your I's, cross your T's on that. So
like have you ever had a challenge? And I'm honest, I really don't know this answer. So
let's see.
we're all gonna find out together. But like, to where it's like, people will look at you and they'll say, "Oh, he's a black kid," and you're like, "Well, hold on a second. I'm white too."
Yeah.
Or the other way around. "Oh, he's a white kid," and you're like, "Oh, wait a minute, I have I'm black also." Does that ever like come up, or how does that? What have been your experiences there?
So as far as that goes, I feel like as a biracial male, to the majority of people, you're just an African American man. So I think that is the initial idea of you. I think a lot of the times, once I start speaking to somebody, they're like, "Oh, he's a little off," or like, "Oh, he speaks well," or it's those little like nasty what's the word I'm looking for?
Well, it's
stereotypes that it's just kind of. So I feel like initially, like, you're put into this box, and then once somebody gets to know you or have a conversation with you, you kind of get to wiggle your way out of it a little bit. But once that box is you're put in that box, it's kind of set for you. But again, I think too much this for that and too much that for this.
Right.
That's like literally the whole thing.
How do you identify yourself?
I would identify myself as an African American male.
And so why do you take that stance to say I'm an African American male?
Well, again, if I came on this show and said I'm a white man,
you think we might have a problem?
I think there might be an issue there. Some people might scratch their heads on that one. So I mean, and also, just off that, it's like that's comfortable. I feel
that's your place of comfort,
right? Yeah. So I mean, again, it's all like deciding, but you're kind of put there. Like, it's just kind of the way it goes. But like, yeah, I would say that's like my comfortable place. Like, no, like being an African American male. If there's race on anything, a lot of the times they don't have like mixed, or sometimes you check other, but I just put African American male.
It's interesting. Your mom, in one of our episodes, she made a statement, and it was a powerful statement. You know, she said a lot of times she's vexed, just in her spirit because she said she works very hard to make sure that you all as her children are taken care of, and she said she can give you all everything, you know, a home, roof over your head, you know, love, you know, you fill in the blank. Right. She says, but she will never be able to give you all her privilege.
Yeah.
And that was like a really powerful statement just to even hear her say something like that. I was like, wow, you know, I never really thought about that. You know, what is your take on that? Especially since you said, right, you know, I identify, you know, as an African American male.
Yeah.
You know, when you have a mom who's Caucasian, who's white,
yeah,
and you know, she recognizes it.
Yeah. And here's the thing, she gets it, and you know, there are times, however, where I'm like, I know she gets it, but I'm like, it's hard to say. Like, there'll be times she'll tell me to do things. I'm like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
You know, like, I know she gets it, but does she get it?
Yeah.
She gets it. But,
yeah.
So I just think in that, you know, you just kind of take what you're given. I mean, she's instilled in me, you know, all of her best qualities, and you've instilled all of your best qualities. I you know, it's just one of those things where, like, that privilege is just not something that's needed.
Yeah.
I think that is like the main thing to harp on. It's like, you guys have prepared us to take on the world, and that privilege is not something that we're gonna feel like we're owed or is needed for us to be successful. It's minute at this point. It just doesn't really matter. So
you said something, and I think it's interesting. You know, even as we, you know, have conversations about your mom, who we know works very, very hard to create inclusivity. She works very hard to try her best to understand, even though you know, and she said it here on the show numerous times. She's like, you know, I can't understand everything, but I try my best to understand that which I can. You know, I'll never forget. You know, we're having one episode, and your mom said, she's the only white person or Caucasian person in her house, and that was like honestly, when she said it, I was like, dang. Yo, you know what I'm saying? Like I never thought about it.
She's the minority here.
Yeah.
You know, and that's you don't think about it, but that is a weird thought to think about for sure. For sure.
You know, and it's funny because, you know, I talk a lot about, like, you know, Saray, who's extremely fair, you know, from a complexion standpoint, you know. So I remember times, like, you know, I would take Saray to Walmart or something like that, and people like, who is this black man with his little white girl? You know what I'm saying? What is going on here? They couldn't get it, right? Yeah. Especially, you know, she had blonde hair and blue eyes, you know. So
but if you look at Saray's nose, you can tell it looks exactly like your nose. So, you know,
it's interesting though, because honestly, if we look at all of the children, Saray may have the most characteristics from me.
Yeah, which is...
But she's like the fairest of all the children also, which is interesting. You know, but I was thinking about this though. You know, just like when I, you know, would go to the store, would go to Walmart with Saray, and it would, you know, we would get the looks.
Mom with
what
Ace.
About mom with Ace?
Yeah.
You know, like mom going to the store with Ace, who's this, you know, beautiful little
Speak of the devil.
Speaking of Ace, he's coming in to see us again. But, you know, Ace, this little chocolate drop, you know what I'm saying? He's bringing, what's he got? He has like a baby and all kind of stuff. But you know, when your mom goes to Walmart or something like that, and you know, she has Ace with her. You know, I'm sure people. I wonder if people look at your mom and they're like, you know,
who's this white lady with this
Yeah,
black baby?
who's the white lady with the black baby?
I'm sure they do. And you know, that's something that I was thinking about. I've talked to Jessa about. Is that gonna be weird for him? Like he's an African American male. Look at this man.
Yeah.
You know, he's chocolate. He's, you know, and then having a white grandma.
A white grandma.
You know, like people like that's a conversation starter.
They're gonna be like, that ain't your grandma.
Exactly.
That ain't your grandma.
Exactly. Or like, you know, just like his view on things and like
Yeah.
how that, you know, like, so yeah, that's definitely interesting.
I think it's going to be super interesting. You know, when we stop and we think about it, because here's the thing, we never really it's not like we sit around and have conversation. Like, so this is really honestly the first time
I don't think we've ever really
had a conversation like this, right? So, you know, you're old now. You're 26.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So,
I don't think we've ever had a conversation like this. I mean,
but it's funny. I know in raising you and your siblings, it was almost like we wanted to protect you all.
right.
But we, even in trying to protect you all, I don't know. I don't know if we ever were just like, hey, you know, this is black, this is white.
No.
I don't think we ever did that. We just kind of.
I feel like, and I feel like that's something that I appreciate because it was very unspoken, and that made it a little bit easier, just because like there was never really any stress to it. There was
Right.
never really any, you know, obviously, like, you know, growing up, like me and you may have a conversation about, you know, like, oh, you're driving, like this is, you know, you
Right.
need to be extra responsible behind
Right.
the wheel, blah blah blah, you know. But I race just wasn't a big topic. It wasn't a huge idea for us. We just
Yeah.
kind of.
You know, and it's interesting because although it was never really a big deal, from the standpoint of we made it a big deal and we sat there and had weekly conversations about it.
Right.
Like we didn't do that. However, we were very in tune, and I know, you know, when you came around, we were very protective.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we wanted to make sure we put you all in the best situation that we could put you in.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Yes, Ace. And in situations where you weren't gonna be hurt,
Yeah.
where you weren't gonna be, you know, picked on and things like that. I mean, I know even when we decided to send you to that school, you know, we kind of we talked about it. We're like, hey, listen, you know, is this something that we really want to do? You know,
Right.
do we want to send him
Right.
to this school? Is this going to be the best for him? Especially, you know, for us, you know, at that time, we understand how the world
works. Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
and how the world is going to view you. We're like, you know,
Yeah.
is that going to help him to be successful as
Right.
he goes, you know, and does the things that he does? So, you know, we thought about it, and ultimately we believe that it was the best choice and best opportunity, and I'm, you know, we're hoping that
Right,
is the
yeah.
case. You
Yeah,
know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah.
But it's again, even though we never really outright talked about it to any of you all,
It was in the back of your head.
it was definitely things that there were things that we talked about, your mom and I. We watched.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we definitely had Mama Bear and Papa Bear mentalities, you know, everywhere that we went. You know, I remember one specific instance. You remember in school the whole hair thing?
Yeah, which this is a really good thing because it was mom.
Yeah.
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 And so pretty much when I was in school, I dyed my hair blonde, and I got sent home because of it. And the reasoning for it was that the blonde was not a natural hair color for me.
Right.
And you know, here's to say, you know, Caucasian girl could go from brown to blonde whenever she wanted, or
Right.
you know. So my mom was, she raised hell.
Yeah.
She raised hell, and that's something that like you know, like she wasn't gonna let anybody tell me what I could and couldn't be,
Right.
You know, and that's I appreciate that. Or even when I had dreads,
Yeah.
she was always an advocate for them, and like,
Absolutely.
there were times where you were like, man, I don't really like those.
Yeah, I was like, cut that doggone hair.
Yeah, but mom was like, I love your hair, it looks beautiful, blah blah blah,
Right.
you know.
Right.
So I really appreciate her going to bat and you know, maybe not have ever been in that situation.
Yeah.
But being able to put herself there and defend her child, you know, to be able to do and, you know, as he feels, and not in like a weird racial way.
Yeah.
You know?
And you know, it's interesting because I know for us, you know, as parents, it's like you're gonna defend your child anyways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we were just a little bit more sensitive, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, when we think about, you know, defending our children, you know, because of the environment that, you know, we're in right now. Yeah. You know, we're not necessarily in this urban utopia. You know what I mean? So there are things that, you know, we have to keep an eye open for as Ace is trying to play. He's really having a good time, if y'all can't tell right now. You know, he's enjoying himself being on the podcast. So it's interesting. Like were there ever things that you were like, yo, I wish we could do X, you know what I'm saying? Or I wish we could go X. Like, were there ever things that you like literally thought about?
As far as like being able to do certain things and being barred from those, or
being able to go certain places. Like, I wish I could, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, maybe, you know, being me being biracial, you know, hinders me from doing that. X. Was there ever anything like that for you?
You know, not really. I think that growing up, at least not that I can remember offhand.
Right.
I feel like I was really able to do anything, and you guys always, you know, just put it in me that you know, sky's the limit kind of deal. So even if I wasn't able to do that, I felt like I could.
Right.
So being put in like those uncomfortable situations, like I mean, playing lacrosse.
Yeah.
It's just like, you know, that's just not something that happens, especially rural Georgia.
Yeah.
Like finding that sport and you know, falling in love with it, and then being in the environment of like lacrosse players are weird and lacrosse families are weird.
Yeah. This is true. This is true.
And I don't mean weird in a bad way. I just mean
they're
weird
different. They're very
I just mean weird in a way that it's like I have a little bit too much money I don't know what to do with, and like they're just so that was an interesting time for sure. I know those summer lacrosse trips, me you and Kai. I don't know what it was like being around the parents, but being around the kids was interesting.
Yeah, I think it was interesting from my perspective as well. You know,
Right.
To your point, lacrosse is or can be a quote unquote elite sport.
Yeah, it's starting to diversify a little bit, but it's still, if you just think lacrosse in your head, you think, you know.
Yeah, you know, it was interesting. You know, there were times where, you know, we're traveling, you know, all over the, you know, for the summer, all over the East Coast, up and down the East Coast. From Florida, you know, to the DC, DMV area, you know, so we're doing all this traveling, and, you know, it's just interesting, like simple things. Like, I remember when we went to DC, you were having a tournament somewhere outside of like Gaithersburg or somewhere in Maryland.
Yeah, we played it like Episcopal or something.
Yeah, but there were like a lot of the families who were like, yo, we're jumping on a plane, we're flying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Man,
like no big deal. Like, we're like, no, we
hop on the PJ, see you guys there.
Yeah, there wasn't a way for us to do that. So literally, we had to drive. Yeah, you know, the 16 hours or whatever the trip was. It was a long drive. Yeah. And we got lost in the mountains. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
But again, we wanted to make sure that the things that we did, like you all never would know.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
we
yeah, for
never
sure.
tried to do things that we thought would hinder
Right.
you all. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So we definitely
brother, man.
we definitely tried to make sure that you all were taken care of, and that you all had just the things that you needed,
Yeah.
because it was a different world.
Can we talk about dating and relationships in 2023?
Yeah, let's talk
You've
about
been
it.
out of the game for a while, obviously. Beautiful wife, beautiful family.
Yeah.
I'm still striving for that, man. It is nuts.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure it is nuts. Like what makes it challenging,
Everything. There's so many things. I think social media
Okay.
obviously makes it challenging.
How does social media make dating a challenge? Is it because you're getting catfished, or like what makes it difficult?
No, I feel like putting yourself in that situation, yeah, kind of
Right.
But I think it's just the presence of social media just allows so much information to travel, and that's it's weird, and this I hate the way this sounds, but like seeing other people and like it does something with your head. I feel like to where like relationships and like finding one person when there's this other world of all these other people is weird.
Right.
That's weird.
So what do you think makes dating challenging for you now?
It really is just such a weird space. Again, social media is weird. I think that's a really weird point. I feel like communication is different for sure.
Okay.
And then I don't know. It just feels like finding someone is just really hard, man. Finding somebody who's interesting and who's actually like nice to have a conversation with,
Yeah.
like on an intellectual base, is kind of hard. And that may be because the area we're in, but I don't know. It's 2023 dating, relationships. If you're single, it's a really weird space to be in.
So for you, what is it that you would say you're looking for?
I feel like a lot of dating is so superficial.
Okay.
At this point in life, I have a child. Like, I'm looking for something that's it's not like all. It's more real. And, again, like I said earlier, like being able to have an intellectual conversation with somebody, sit down and enjoy like similar things. Not too similar, because then there's always problems.
Yeah, you don't want to be talking to yourself.
Exactly.
Right.
It is. So, yeah, I feel like it's just really superficial, and you're trying to find something real in a world that is oddly fake.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's in even more facets than just relationships.
Yeah.
Like trying to find that.
Well, and it's so weird for me, because when I talk to people from your generation and below, right?
Right.
What
am I, by the way? Am I a millennial? Am I what is it, X? I'm not Z.
No, I would say you're on the end of the millennials,
right?
Yeah, but the
It's a
beginning,
weird,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's interesting though, because when I speak to a lot of people, kids, I called you a child, but
I mean,
you know what I'm saying?
Younger people,
right? Younger people, right? And the one thing that I hear a lot is, we want you to keep it real. We want to keep it real, but it just seems like there is nothing real. It's like all fake and superficial. You know what I'm saying? So what does that even mean when you're, talking to people and they say things like, "Hey, I want to keep it real." Is there a real?
Okay. So say that you a lot of people, it's so weird. A lot of people in this day and age, like you're talking to someone through like text message or, via an app or whatever the case may be. And people are like have like an online persona. I feel like that's like
that's real.
Yeah, like kind of similar, or I mean, kind of like hits home in that with that question. People have like an online persona, and that's what you see of them. And then you may meet, and they're just not at all what they've painted themselves to be.
Like literally and figuratively.
Literally and figuratively. They threw the filters on. They did whatever. But and I think that's something that it's kind of has me distraught. You think that like it's hard to get a grasp on somebody who's on somebody's actual personality, and also I feel like everything's moving so fast, like people don't give each other enough time of day to like actually build an emotional connection, if that makes sense.
Do you think it's harder to build that connection online? For example, when your mom and I were coming up, there was no online. Like we literally had to like go to the movies, go wherever, and do. You know what I'm saying? Like there wasn't like
you couldn't text, you couldn't.
There was none of that. I mean, and when we did text, we had to hit the button 3 times.
Right.
So,
yeah. You had to, scroll.
And
ABC,
that wasn't until college.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So,
is it possible to build an emotional connection online? I'm not gonna say no, because there are plenty of people who build an emotional connection through there. But I also think, at least for me, figuring somebody out includes like personal, like in-person interaction.
Right.
And, it's weird because a lot of the times you don't even get there.
Right.
It's like we have this conversation, we fill each other out, like, am I going to like this person? But you really you don't even know the person.
Right.
The only thing that you've seen is like pictures or text from them. It's just, oh man, it's just a really weird, I don't know, like you and mom do relationship advice or whatever. When talking to singles, like what's your advice there?
I think one of the things we say is, do your best to get to know people. But, you always have to remember before you marry somebody, right? And officially get into the place where y'all living together. You know what I'm saying? Like,
like you're in there.
You're really only seeing you're seeing the best image of that person.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
But it's weird because now there are like 2 steps.
Yeah.
It's like
I can see that.
Originally, like you date this person, like you really enjoy them, like you can see yourself being with this person for your whole life. And then you get married, you move in, and then like you find out some other things. Right. Now it's like you talk to this person through an online, and then you see them in person, and then you jump that hurdle, and then it's just
Yeah, I think it's very, very challenging, and just being honest, I'm glad that I found me a good one, some years ago, so I don't have to go through the challenges that you and your generation and just people in general are going through now in this media driven world that we live in. It's very, very challenging. It's not easy. It's not easy. But the cool thing about social media is I think it can draw us closer from the standpoint of like
it gives us the ability
to connect. The ability, right, to connect, because like I'm talking with people nowadays who I went to like elementary school with, you know what I mean, which is
was that,
weird.
Like 60 years ago?
It was a couple years ago, or like one of the guys that I would consider a really, really good friend of mine. I mean, just like we talk like every week, and literally every week, we have a meeting every Saturday morning. His name is Dwayne, just awesome dude. But I've never seen him in person.
Right. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like I've never seen him in person.
I'm an avid gamer.
Yeah.
So I get this because I've made some great friends
Right.
online.
Right.
Right? Guys that I'll get on the game and like, you know, talk like we've known each other for
Forever.
10 years.
Yeah.
And so that's I understand that portion. I definitely think that social media, online world gives us the ability to connect on a human interaction.
Yeah.
10 times more.
Yeah.
100 times more.
Yeah.
So that's nice. That's
Yeah.
the nice part about social media and like, you know. So I get that. I get that.
It's
point.
like there's a yin and a yang though.
Yeah, and that's, you know, anything in excess can be a bad thing.
It can be a bad thing, very much so.
So, you know, you kind of have to balance it out and you know, work on that, but yeah.
So let me ask you this as we get ready to wrap up today.
He's ready to go, y'all.
He is ready to go, but he's done a great job today,
Solid.
filling in for his grandmother over here. Do you feel him for Grandma? He's like, I'm not paying attention to y'all right now. But when you think about, you know, relatively unknown or the underdog, I know you've experienced a lot, whether it be in the academic classroom, on the athletic field, growing up as a biracial man. Like what would be a piece of advice that you would give to someone right now who feels like they're an underdog, so that they can, you know, continue to push through, because there's something good on the other side, right? So what piece of advice would you give to that individual?
You know, I saw this clip the other day, and it's kind of stuck with me. It's a Deion Sanders clip.
Okay.
And I don't know if you've seen it, but if you can, put it at the end of this because it's a good one. But he's talking about being the underdog, and the thing that he says is when nobody's watching, keep making plays. And I think that really hit home. One, as an athlete, but two, just when nobody's watching, keep making plays. When you think you're down, keep making plays.
Keep making plays. I like that.
So and that just kind of resonated with me because I've been there. I've been there, you know, when nobody was watching and had to make a play, or you know, it's the night before an assignment is due, and you've had work all week, and you got to find a way to get it done, and you gotta make a play, and I feel like that just, as an underdog, you got to work hard and you got to want it, and it has to be something that you're passionate about. And even when you're down, you gotta stay in the fight.
Right.
You know, so I think that's.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. When you're down and out,
Hey,
you got to make a play.
keep making plays.
Keep making plays.
4th and 1, make a play. So,
I love it.
You know,
I love it. Man, I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming today. I appreciate you chopping it up with us. I appreciate you trying to keep your nephew together over here. But it's been fun. We'll have to do this again.
Yeah. I enjoy it. I always like talking to you.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah.
It's fun.
Appreciate it.
There's somebody out there right now, the light ain't on you, but keep making plays. Nobody's talking about you, but keep making plays. Right. I know your sales numbers aren't where your friend is, but keep making plays. I know nobody's talking about you, and you're not on the leaderboard right now, but baby, keep making plays.